My dear friends, welcome again for this week's video. With this one, I would like to start a new series that I promised some time ago, related in particular to the co-building of some effect chain. You may remember that I created another video. I will link in this one to remember this. But right after the intro, I'll give you more details about this. You may remember that I created a video some time ago when I mentioned how to build an interesting, a logical effect chain using NUX Mighty devices. Here I have my NUX Mighty Air, as usual, the NUX Mighty Plug Pro. This covers what is applicable for NUX Mighty Air is also applicable for Mighty Plug MP-2, and what is applicable for MP Pro is also applicable for Mighty Space because the building of effect chain is more or less the same. So when after the video I mentioned before, I launched the sort of poll asking you what kind of effect chain you would like to see described. By the way, I can anticipate that in the description of this video, you will find also the links to download QR codes and saved presets for both these devices to obtain the effect chain I will show you in a moment in this device. Well, of course, I will need to share with you my my smartphone screen to the application we will be using. So let me just start the screen of my smartphone, of course. Well, of course, as usual, we will be using Mighty Ramp. So let me just show you where to find it. Just use Start It. Mighty Ramp is the app developed by Tuntori that is mentioned in I would say all of my videos because for NUX Mighty devices it's very powerful and introduces a lot of additional features that the basic amp provided by the supplier are not, by the manufacturer are not providing. So this one is definitely much better. So I will start with NUX Mighty Air. This is simpler because the effect chain is more easy. As you see, I'm already connected to the device. I have already a preset that I'm gonna share with you. I named it Scorpions Still Loving You because that is the main song that you can imagine when speaking about Hi-Reverb arpeggios that are provided that were very famous during the 80's and the 90's, and this is the topic for this week's video. So let's have a look on the construction of this preset. Let's start from the noise gate. Of course, this is more useful if you have matters with single coil device with single coil pickups because they become noisy, and when you have a high reverb and a high chorus or something like that, it can become really annoying. So it's important to use them to have the noise gate when needed, but it has also another purpose in this effect chain. You see that I pumped sustain. So in, for example, for Mighty Plug Pro, it is named decay, but has the same meaning. As high you push it, as longer the sound will remain before being cut by the noise gate whenever you surpass the threshold. That is very, you see I set it very low just to filter unwanted touches on the strings, not particular no particular noises, because of course if in particular if you have humbucker pickups, there is no real need for a powerful noise gate, but this one can push a lot of your sustain. That is why it is pushed to 100%. Then looking at the effect box, the effect brick, now it is important here to provide something that can push your sound and compress your sound. So the best solution would be using a compressor. It is also possible to have both a compressor and an FX if you're using Mighty Plug Pro. For NUX Mighty Air, you need to pick a choice. There are different possibilities. You can use a raw compressor, that is definitely a compressor, and can be used pushing up the sustain and keeping the level not so high. Well, frankly, the point is that you need more a booster than a compressor, because the problem is not having high pitches resonate. The problem is having light touches that are not are hardly heard in when playing. So it's important to, in particular, to pump up what is too delicate to get that particular long-lasting sound that you can expect from this kind of play. I'm speaking about, from the name, Scorpion songs, some very famous arpeggios from Guns N' Roses, Green Day, or any other of this. I will leave you some samples later in this video, but it is important to have this. According to my ears, the best result is obtained using the katana effect that is used as a booster. You see, I pressed the booster is on because I need, in fact, this kind of booster. By the way, in using the same effect in Mighty Plug Pro, I can already tell you, but you will find that I didn't use it because it introduced some kind of distortion that we don't want, because we want a perfectly clean, resonating, brilliant sound. The volume must be pushed high, because what we want is level all the play on the upper side, on the high volume. Then, for the amplifier, you can pick whatever you like, even perfectly clean amplifiers. In the list, there are some just clean and so on. Personally, I like a lot the simulation of the Vox 830, because it's not perfectly clean if you keep the gain high, but we will lower it, of course. But it is it has already a sort of natural compression, and the equalization, in my opinion, on this of the simulation on these devices is very effective, and the result is very pleasant. That is why I picked the Class 830. Of course, I pushed down gain to a very low level. I kept 15% to give some structure to the sound, but you can lower it even to 0 if you prefer. We can keep it also even down. The level must be pushed to the max, and then it is important to have an equalization where you have bass and treble that are leveled, but the middle are a little carved. This way you stress, you remark the trebles and the bass that are very important for this kind of sound. For IR, you just can keep what the selection of the amplifier gets you. So, for example, in this case, an A220, that 212, that is the basic one available in the list. No need to change it. As you can see, I just kept the level as 0 dB, so no increase or decrease. But then there is the important thing, the important part of the after chain, because this kind of play needs a lot of delay, reverb, and so on. That's why I decided to place a modulation that gives you that returning sound. I picked the C1, that is one of the cleanest and less the less bumping one, the less that you can find in this kind of effects, because the other has a lot of tremolo effect. They pushed on this one, and C1 is instead very clean, in my opinion. You see the intensity is about 64-65%, depth 90% more or less, so I want a high depth, and the rate about 60%. So on average, it's on your ears. This was my choice because it sounded good for me. By the way, you will see that there is a high difference if you use directly, for example, the speaker for NUX Mighty Air, or if you connect your headphone. If you connect your headphone, the effects will sound a lot brighter and a lot stronger. So maybe you will need to decrease somehow these levels to obtain a similar effect. In any case, this was my choice. Then for delay, I would suggest to pick an analog delay. The analog delay compared to other ones is decreasing at every recurrence. For example, the digital delay tends to last longer and to have a similar level in different repetitions. But with the analog, you have a more natural result. Of course, you can keep all of them. By the way, also digital delay obtains a good result here for this kind of arpeggios. In particular, speaking about some songs like Scorpion ones we mentioned at the beginning. But this way, I think that this preset is more usable also for other purposes. So I prefer to have analog delay because I like it more. But it is a matter of taste. So feel free to use one of these. I would avoid ping pong because it creates a completely different effect that can be helpful, for example, for some Queen songs, but not here. You see the repetition is not so high, 90%, 20%. The mix is a quarter, more or less, so it's not a delay that is pushing too much and becoming preeminent. And for the frequency, I picked 90-95 bit per minute. So I would suggest something like that because it's soft enough not to have too trebling, but it is also frequent enough to hear it, to give you a feeling. Then for reverb, I would suggest one of the first two, room or hall. Plate and spring provide another kind of reverb. Hall, in my opinion, is too deep. That gives an idea of a too big room to play in. And room, in my opinion, is better because it is more faithful to the sound we want, where we want an effect, a reverb that is an effect, but not related to reflection by walls or something like that. So, in my opinion, this is better. Of course, you can test anything you want, you can try, and that is one of the most important things to do when using something like this. Because this way you can also verify what you prefer and obtain the result you would like to have. Okay, now let me take the guitar so I can give you an idea with a couple of examples of what you can obtain. Of course, please forgive me for my playing style because I'm not so good. I'm not a professional player. I'm just a novice and I'm not a good one, frankly speaking. But I hope I can give you an idea of the results you can obtain with this one. Here we are. You see it's already connected with a transmitter to the Mighty Air. So I can let you hear what what is possible to obtain, starting from the disclaimer. Or also you may have noticed that I played on purpose some strings very, very light, just touching with the finger. It was done because I wanted to let you hear the effect of the compression. Because whenever I play very soft or stronger, you hear the difference, but it's not so hard to make you lose that play also light touch to the strings. And that is very important to obtain a good effect in this kind of arpeggios. Of course, other interesting things are possible with this kind of, it's a very flexible kind of preset, this one. Again, forgive me for my playing style, I'm not so good, but I hope you have an idea. Other things from the 90s are possible. Okay, well, I hope you have an idea. So, well, now that I've showed you how to obtain this result, this kind of effects, it was just, well, I don't want to show you how bad I am in playing guitar. It was not my purpose. My purpose was to give you an example of what you can obtain with this kind of preset in order to understand what is the outcome. Of course, now let's have a look at the second part. Now I would like to show you very simply how to obtain the same effect chain with Mighty Plug Pro or Mighty Space. So again, let me connect it. So turning off the Mighty Air, turning on Mighty Plug Pro. This way I can have our Mighty Ramp to connect. Sorry for the glitch. You may have seen that my screen was not updating from the smartphone. Now you should see that correctly. You see, I connected it to Mighty Plug Pro. I have a preset also here that I can share with you. It is saved as, again, as Scorpion Still Loving You, but I want to, you can rename it however you want. As I said in the description of the video, you will find this preset to import in your system. Here, have a look at the chain. I have to remark a very small bug. First of all, a very simple one. You see that the effect chain looks kind of strange with the compressor at the end, the equalizer at the end. Well, it doesn't make any great importance where the equalizer is. Can be at the end, can be at the beginning, but it gets different results. When I created the preset, the compressor was at the beginning, and that was my purpose, by the way. You may remember that in Mighty Plug Pro you can move the effects wherever you want in the effect chain. So this is how the chain was intended to be. The compressor should be at the beginning of the chain, and the equalizer immediately after IR. I'm not using the equalizer nevertheless, but if you want to use it because for example, with your other effect chain, with your system, with your guitar, you have too many bass, you want to increase the treble or so on, you can do it here, activating the equalizer. I'm giving you the basic configuration. Of course, as you have seen, I uploaded it and the compressor was in the bad position. Just keep it in mind when you are importing the preset from the description, the link I'm going to provide. Please make sure of this, because if the compressor is at the end, the result is not exactly what you want to do, because it will compress the effects, the sound after everything. So it can be good if you want to use it to push this effect chain directly into a real amplifier, because this way you're not making it clip or produce any kind of additional distortion. But for our purposes, it was another result we wanted to obtain, so the compressor should be at the beginning. This is a small bug. Honestly speaking, I don't think it's a matter related only to, it's something related to Mighty Ramp Up, and I'm confident that Tuntori will work on it. I will report this also as a minor bug. It's something very simple, but a little annoying, because you cannot just just load your preset. You also need to move it to make it work correctly. Nevertheless, as again, noise level, the noise gate, exactly as for Mighty Air. So sensitivity 15%, decay, that is what was named sustain in Mighty Air 100%. Then we use a real compressor. I used a studio compressor, but you can select for free. For example, you could use the Rose compressor that you get from that is identical to what you can activate in NUX if you prefer that one. But of course, I prefer the studio compressor because it has a lot of settings in addition. You see the gain was 30%, the threshold 70%, so we get a real compression between, we are increasing the low volumes, but also we are reducing the highest one. The ratio 25%, release of 30% are very common settings that generally speaking works. And in my opinion, this sound is very similar to what you can obtain with the NUX Mighty Air in the samples I'll let you had. No effects for me, it's not necessary, but it's up to you. If you want to add another katana here or something like that, feel free. For amplifier, again, class A30, exactly as set it as per NUX Mighty Air, no differences, so gain very low, even lower if you prefer. The master volume very high, close to 100% or 100%. Well, here I have, sorry, yes, bass and treble 60%, the cut 40%. As for as we had in NUX Mighty Air, because this kind of effects is well obtained, well good. It's sounding good. For IR, again, the cab 8 to 12. In Mighty Plug Pro, you see that you have two additional settings for this cabinet. You don't only select the level, so increase or reduce the volume, but you can also decide at which frequencies the IR should cut. Well, I left the field the larger possible, so low cut is the minimum possible and high cut is the highest possible. So I decided to keep the full range of frequencies possible of the full spectrum, so there is no cutting here. It's up to you. If you wanted to make it a low pass or high pass, it's up to you. But for our purpose, in my opinion, it's necessary to have the highest dynamic we can obtain. So the IR is used at its full purpose. Then for mod, again, modulation CA1, as we did for NUX Mighty Air, rate 65, 60, 65%, depth 87, 88 was in NUX Mighty Air, intensity 60%. So it is again the same one, same kind of modulation. They are not perfectly identical. You will hear that the same modulations, the same effects between the two devices are not reproduced exactly perfect. And honestly speaking, in my opinion, the NUX Mighty Air is doing a better job, is more realistic. I don't know why. I don't know what is the DSP applied, what is happening, but I prefer that. Nevertheless, for delay, again, analog delay, intensity 19%, 18%, as we did for NUX Mighty Air. For the time, here you cannot select 95 as we did bit per minute, as we did for NUX Mighty Plug, because the regulation is completely different. And while you reduce it, you obtain a higher BPM, because here you have a translation of the milliseconds into BPMs. So when you reduce milliseconds, and BPMs are increased this way, and so when you increase milliseconds, so you wait more between different repetition, you can do it. And you cannot push it at more than 150 bits per minute. So let's keep it like that. It's not bad. Rate 24% as for NUX Mighty Air. Then let's have a look at the reverb. Again, room reverb with the same identical regulation we had here. Again, I have to tell you, the results of the two effects are not perfectly matching, but very, very close. And in particular, the purpose of the effect chain is confirmed. It is very good for those kind of plays where you want dynamic, you want clarity, you want to hear space from the sound, as in those kind of arpeggios we used to have. So this is the possibility you can obtain also with the Mighty Plug Pro. And as I said, I'm sharing both the presets to you in the links below in the video. So being said this, I hope you like this particular format Please forgive me again for my playing skill that are very, very limited, I have to tell you. But nevertheless, my purpose was to transfer something from a technical point of view. This is strictly related to the video that I'm linked, related to how to build up a logical effect chain, explaining why certain effects are placed in a specific position in the effect chain. So if you haven't, please have a look at that video because it can give you a lot of additional details and help you understand why this particular effect chain has been built up like this. Nevertheless, I'm sharing again this kind of presets. I hope you find them useful, helpful. Feel free to experiment. So make your settings, your configuration, make any change. It's just or your imagination is the only limit. So because these devices are really powerful. By the way, the Mighty Plug Pro has a lot of additional possibilities because you can also change completely the chain of effects, moving them back and forth, obtaining incredible results, I would say. But nevertheless, both of them have give really a lot of possibilities and much more, in my opinion, than what is needed to be happy. I had somebody asking me in the comments, how can you use more than 3 or 4 presets in your playing? And frankly speaking, for 80% of your playing, that's true, because when you have a clean channel, a crunch, and the distortion, you're fine. But for particular effects, here you have also this kind of possibilities. So again, feel free to experiment. If you find a combination that you believe is good, very pleasant, be kind and share it in the Facebook group or here, or link it to me. I will provide it also to the rest of the group, because I think that it's important to share this kind of knowledge and this kind of outcomes, because we can be happy using these devices and playing the guitar as we normally do. So again, thank you for watching, and I'm renewing you the invitation for next week. Bye bye.